Judy, could you just go back to the, I think it was the last two slides, and just talk through them one more time? Because you were explaining, I was trying to follow.
So we are a unique district. Most K-8s in this area have one municipality. We have 12 constituent districts, so we have to go through a process of taking our total amount that our district budget needs to go up, which is our total $70 million budget, let's say, and then we rapidly apportion it between all of the districts. So the county gives us this information, and there's two driving factors of this worksheet, and it's the equalized valuation of the municipality, and it's also the number of students that attend from each of those municipalities. That gives us a regional apportionment for that municipality.
And then that's unique every year.
Yes. Yes, that changes every year.
Okay.
That is the driving factor to calculating our tax rate for the calendar year of 2026.
And then you said these are on an average on values basically.
Yes. So we asked the tax assessor to give us this information. Instead of saying per 100,000, we say, well, what's the average home value in your town, so that it makes a little bit more sense for the average taxpayer.
All right, thank you.
And that's the annual difference in the last column.
Yes, okay, yeah, that's what I was just trying to measure.
So there can be reductions, again, that's based on this chart. If there are less students attending from that municipality, or perhaps if there was changes in the equalized valuation of other towns, that could shift how it's how the impact in the share is of the other municipalities. So let's say Bethel Township had the reassessment. I know their equalized valuation went up. That may impact some of the other towns and actually force them into a negative difference. So that's where some of these Disney hires is actually going down for 2026 because they could have less students and less equalized valuation in the totality.
Thank you. Other questions or clarifications for Katie?
I have a question. It's not necessarily on this.
Sure.
It's on the NHB web legal page where we posted the
Yeah,
budget. Yeah, that budget. There was a section there for advertised enrollments, and it's showing current enrollments and an estimated enrollment for October of next year. It's showing an increase of almost 300 students from this year to next year. Is that mainly made up of the cohorts coming from the VOTEC as well as the ESL coming back in? When does that increase?
That is part of the components, and then it's also our projection of any other housing units coming in. We have two that are potentially coming in for September.
We have two that we know will be open for, actually three.
Right.
That we know will be open for September, and other ones that they're starting now. And there's a possibility that the way the construction phases go, sometimes we might see those kids in October or November. So we have to plan for those ones.
All right, and we use that number, that estimated number, in our calculation of our plan.
And all that is a projection for the budget software, really. That, yeah, it's just a function of the software. It's really not driving any of the other calculations.
Okay, thank you.
We also want to ensure safe and functional facilities. That is to make sure that those activities that they're able to do are done in a safe and efficient manner. So facilities, I think everybody knows, very expensive to maintain. Two facilities of this size, two distinct high schools. We also want to attract and retain our highly qualified staff. Retaining our staff is really important, and attracting new people to come to our district is just as important as well. So we want to make sure that we have the pay scale that will attract people, keep them here, and also the activities and things that we provide for our staff in supporting a budget of this nature, so that they feel that they have the support to do the job that they're doing in the classroom. We also want to exercise the fiscal responsibility and cost containment, and I think we tried to demonstrate that with the presentations that we've done over the last few months to make sure you understand what we've done to make sure that we have sharpened our pencils. We have done everything we possibly can to contain costs. But there are some things that were out of our control. We talked health benefits, ad nauseum, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about that tonight. But those are just some things that were out of our control, but we still made it work within the most reasonable way we could. And then, of course, we have our strategic goals and state mandates. Our strategic plan is what drives our actions in this district for the next 5 years. We're finishing up year one of it now, and state mandates. I don't want to get too far into that, but we have mandates that come down from the state that we have to do, whether it is part of the curriculum or whether it's things like cell phone bans or there's all kinds of mandates come down from the state, and those are typically unfunded. It's not like the state says, we need you to do something else, and we're gonna give you a little bit more money to help you do it. That is on the burden of the taxpayers, but we don't have a choice but to do those things. So those are budget goals. I hope everyone understands that as we go through the rest of this presentation, and that's what we should be focused on.
So what were the budget challenges that we had when we were putting this together? And I'm gonna highlight these, and we're gonna have some additional slides to kind of highlight some of these as well. This is the state aid funding that we've had has been declining since 2018. S2 hit this district specifically hard, and it was over that 6-year period during S2 that we had a large amount of our state aid eliminated. Our healthcare costs, again, we've talked about this at length, but we'll be talking about it again tonight. The healthcare marketplace is experiencing significant increases this year, and we were not insulated from that. Our increases were significant. Special education costs are increasing at a rate greater than 2%, specifically for out-of-district placements. Transportation continues to escalate due to continued driver shortages and also gasoline costs and the bus costs for our vendors. And also state mandates, as Rich has alluded to. So how did we bridge the gap and see savings in order to balance this budget? So again, our budget drivers are increasing at a rate that are much greater than the 2% tax levy cap. So that gap is bridged by these following items. And I'll kind of let you
So, and again, we've talked about these again, but I want to reiterate them. We're creating an ESL program at our district because our numbers are increasing for our ESL population, and the out-of-district cost for sending those students out is now going to exceed having our own program. So we're able to reduce our costs from out-of-district placements by creating a program. We also increased our special service offerings to reduce professional fees. What that means is we hired professionals, like speech language therapists, instead of contracting those services out, because those contract services ended up costing us more, even when we were offering benefits to an employee. When we did all the math, it ended up costing more to have those contracted out. So by bringing those in-house, we save money, and we have professionals in-house that are serving our school community only. We did some right sizing of non-instructional staff. Basically what that means is looking at all of our staff and making sure that we kept any reductions in staff outside the classroom. Make sure that our non-instructional program was where we looked when it was possible to reduce any staff. And that leads into streamlining security operations as well, looking into how we're staffing and what we are doing to keep our students and our staff safe on a regular basis. And we were able to streamline some of that as a matter of circumstances and things that happened, and save some money at the same time. We also increased our Hunterdon County vocational school district students with no increase in NHB staff. So what that means is it's really additional revenue, but it's not revenue, because what happens is we get that taken off of our polytech bill, so it's less expenditures. To make a long story short, we were able to reduce our expenditures because of those polytech kids and not have to increase our staff in order to do that. You know, as the programs continue to grow, we have 3 more cohorts coming into our district with the new building. You know, that might change. We might have to add some staff to supplement for that. But again, those costs will be offset by those increased tuitions that we'll be getting from the students in polytech. When we do reduce staff, we do it through attrition whenever that's possible. Meaning that somebody leaves, we look at our numbers, look at the hard numbers, and we make sure that we determine whether or not we have to replace that person. If we don't, then that's a salary we can save instead of having to cut somebody in their second or third or fourth year. And then our budget, our building budget request, the principals can attest to this if you ask them, but we were very hard on them this year. We asked them to look at this budget line by line and really look at every single expenditure that they've had over the last 2 years and determine whether or not they needed that or they needed a reduced amount of that. And because of that, we were able to reduce our building budget requests significantly, and that helped us close our budget gaps.
So how do we spend our funds in the budget? And this is the district operating budget. So salaries are about 50% of the budget. Benefits are 18.5%. So almost 70% of our budget is driven by salaries and benefits. The next largest categories would be for transportation, out-of-district tuition, and of course utilities, purchase services, and other miscellaneous expenditures. And as you can see, the biggest budget driver for us is salaries, which are collectively bargained, and benefits, which we saw a huge increase in this year. So just to touch on enrollment, and again, we talked about polytech and how it's beneficial to us, but I think it's important to highlight that although state aid. In the past 6 years, we've experienced significant declines in state aid. So although you could see year over year, 25, 26 to 26, 27, it looks fairly stable. You could see the 6 years prior to that were significant reductions. So although one year over another may not be a huge decline, it's still almost 0% increase, which is difficult to sustain with the expenditure increases that we're experiencing. And to touch on health benefits again, you can see the orange line is the state health benefit plan, and the blue line is our Hunterdon-Voorhees Schools Health Insurance Fund increase. So as you can see in our current year projection for next year, it's 20% increase with schools health insurance fund, which is a jointure that we're included in with over 100 districts. So there is success in numbers in comparison to the state health benefit plan, which has experienced over a 30% increase this year. So what that allows us to do is to use a health benefit waiver to raise taxes above the 2% tax levy cap. So again, we've seen this slide before in the past months, but it's describing the fact that we can go above the 2% tax levy cap due to this one-time increase in expenditure of the health benefits. So every district in the state of New Jersey is allowed to use this waiver this year due to that state health benefit plan increasing over 30%. So that's what drives our local tax levy. And as you can see in this chart, you can see the past several years of our tax levy being fairly stable, and this year being a one-year anomaly because of that health benefit increase. And as the state has acknowledged, that health benefit waiver is available to us. So currently our increase is 4.29%. The available increase for our tax levy is 4.6. The board did ask us in the past month to look and do a deeper dive and see if there was any other way that we could cut any additional funds. So we will be generating bank cap in the amount of $171,975. So we were able to decrease our budget tax levy increase from 4.6 to the 4.29 based on just some additional staffing reductions through the attrition process. So this is a year-over-year revenue comparison. So you can see the local tax levy increase of $2.4 million. Other revenues going down $120,000 due to projected decreases in interest income and also the parking fees that were eliminated. The state aid reduction due to the extraordinary aid reduction that we are projected to experience next year. Small increase in Medicaid reimbursement and also a planned budget fund balance reduction of $235,000. So as you can see for the operating budget, the net increase would be the 1.99, almost $2 million. And the other small pieces are the federal and state revenue and grants, which is just typical of 80% is expected for grant funding and also the debt service that the taxpayers have approved in prior fiscal years. So how does that impact taxes? So the tax share per municipality is based on a regional apportionment chart that we get from the county office, and that's a snapshot date of October 15th of 2025. The two drivers of this chart is the equalized valuation of the municipality and also the number of students that are attending our regional district at that time. So what that does is it takes our total tax levy that we're looking to raise and it allocates it out to all of the 12 municipalities per those two pieces of information. So that chart then flows into what we do, and we calculate our tax rate based on a calendar year instead of the fiscal year that we're looking to raise taxes for next school year. So as you can see on this chart, you can see the 2025 estimated tax versus the 2026 estimated tax. And then we ascertain the average home value from the tax assessor of each municipality, and then you can see the difference expected for an average home in each of those municipalities. So you can see exactly how that's going to impact your municipality where you live. And this will all be available on our website as soon as we're done and the board approves the budget. So what are the next steps? Tonight is the public hearing and the adoptions. We'll open for public comment and ask the board to approve this budget. Then I will certify taxes to municipal clerks. We will implement the budget on July 1st and make sure everything is available on our district website so that everyone is well aware of this presentation and all of the tax impact. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Marlene Boldinger. Most importantly, I'm a parent of a sophomore Biomed Academy student, and I'm also the council president for Lebanon Borough, and I did come and speak to you a couple months ago. So I just wanted to say, I'm going to echo, we love the district, we love the school, everything, the teachers are outstanding, no complaints. It really is the jewel in the crown of the Hunterdon County District, so I congratulate everyone. I do want to say that just looking at costs, because it is something that does come up at our budget meetings when we get our tax bills are due in a couple days, and about 70% of our taxes, or property taxes, go towards the schools. Lebanon Borough is one of your 12 districts. We we're number 2 as far as the amount of money that's paid per student. If you don't know Lebanon Borough, 1 square mile, just about, celebrating our 100th anniversary on this year, so it's a great place to live. But it's $1.8 million is a lot of money for a small district, and we have about maybe 28% of our families send students to the school. We have 44 students, and so we're paying close to $40,000 per student. Now, as a parent, my older daughter's graduating college, and as I said, my younger one is here, it is worth every penny. As I attend, we go to school board meetings locally as well. You know, previously someone said, hey, $40,000, we could send our kids to Kingery for that. Okay, so I think that it really is important, you know, from a perspective as a board, to hear what the residents and the voters have to say, in particular those that live in Lebanon Borough, because those are the people that I represent. And I'm just going to ask for the names, and when I see the names here, but just to say Brian Chapman, hi Brian, and Stephen Matthews.
He's
not here. Okay, Cynthia Reyes, and Daniel Stanton. So hi, I want to really encourage all of you to come to our school board meetings. We have 11 of our school board meetings, to come to our council meeting, to hear what some of the issues are that are important to our residents, our communities, our community, our students. It really is important. You know, we do see people signs up periodically every couple of years when there's an election, but it really is appreciated when we get to see you. And see you come to our meetings and show you want to hear not just what I'm saying as one parent. You know, like I said, 20% of our residents are senior citizens. And as I go around campaigning, they're complaining about their tax bills. So I think you guys are the best ambassadors as well as our students. So again, I do encourage you to come to our meetings. Again, and just from a state support standpoint, my daughter spoke to Governor Murphy a couple times when she was freshman class president last year. She just had a conversation with Governor Michael Sherrill. He was on the radio, so there's proof, we have the evidence. She just talked about North Hunterdon very proudly, and Governor Sherrill committed to coming to North Hunterdon High School to talk about our cell phone policy, our Vote 16. Her chief of Department of Education already called Ava, my daughter, and we're working with Dr. Cottrell and Dr. Berjaks to schedule this. So I think the more, and I'm sure when she comes, other people, our sending district representatives will come on. Legislators from the Assembly and the Senate will come as well. And I think there's nothing better than putting the spotlight on this phenomenal district. And so we're doing our part, and I just appreciate, again, your support to come in and show our community and all the other districts that it is important, you know, our voters and what we have to say. So I thank you for what you do.
Marlene, thank you. If you, we met a week ago in our working session, and I will say there is a lot of discussion about the importance of connecting and communicating with our sending districts and our municipalities. We recently had our first roundtable of all the board presidents once again. I know in my previous stint when I was on the Glen Gardner Borough, we worked very closely with your municipality. I think all districts are looking for shared solutions and old ideas, including conversations with municipalities in the state, and you'll see some evidence of action in that direction tonight, and certainly going forward. So thank you for putting that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Establishing maximum travel expenditures and maximum sorry, Brian, I'll get to you. You're fine. Comments, questions, clarifications? All right. I would just certainly like to commend everybody's work here. I know we had a couple of months of conversation. It's always challenging. Everybody wants to do what's right and best for the constituents. They certainly want to do what's right and best for the students, as we see over and over each month. We recognize that the decisions we make are often complicated and challenging, and coming to this task is never an easy one. So I commend all of you for the work. I commend the administration for the work that they put into it as well. And certainly just want to see continued success on behalf of the district. So,
I just want to echo that, a thanks to the team that put the budget together and for taking what we said and going back and looking for those additional cuts for us, because that probably wasn't very easy thing to do. It was probably very time consuming for you. So I appreciate you taking what we said and running with it and finding that for us and for our constituents.
okay, we will move to a roll call.
Ms. Ayers?
Yes.
Mr. Capman?
Yes.
Mr. Hanley?
Yes.
Mr. Higgins?
Yes.
Mr. Lordy?
Yes.
Mr. Matthews? Ms. Mezzacappa?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Ms. Bregas?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Stelling?
Yes.
And Mr. McIsaac?
Yes. Thank you very much. For our constituent districts, it was a great relaunch of an initiative that had run for a number of years. I think a great opportunity to network among the districts to kind of hear the challenges that each district is facing, not only budgetary, but in terms of all of the ways that they're trying to be responsible stewards of their program, look for efficiencies, partnering on things, and there was the conversations regarding the regionalization study, which is sent from us in the process of being approved. I think we have 4 or 5 districts at this point who have partnered on with us, but we've left the door open to the other districts as they have those conversations to see if they want to be a part of that study as well. And again, something I articulated to those districts, we just felt it was the fiscally responsible thing for us to do as a district, to be looking at all options for the financial stability and success of all of our districts going forward. So I will keep you posted on that work. I think we're anticipating, hopefully having one more meeting before the school year ends, but I'll keep you sort of apprised of that as well.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Amy Barrett, and I live in Highbridge. I'm a senior citizen, and yes, I'm concerned about property taxes, but I also appreciate the value of our excellent schools. Both of my adult children graduated from Voorhees. My daughter was well prepared for college when she took AP classes and honors classes. She was very involved in the drama club for 4 years. My son had an IEP, and he got strong support through special services, through pull-out classes, counseling, and he was a member of the wrestling team, which really boosted his self-esteem. In addition to my own children, I taught for 17 years at Union Township Middle School, and I'm really glad as I've seen those students move to North and hear about their accomplishments in academics, in sports, in drama, in music, and volunteer opportunities. And even in the last 4 years, 3 of my students were student reps to the sport for North. I hope that teenagers in our community in the coming years get the same educational and extracurricular opportunities. And that's why I've come forward with this. I know that this is a really challenging year for the budget. I know that that's true across New Jersey and certainly in Hunterdon County. Healthcare costs, transportation costs. Every school I've heard of is raising their budget, you know, raising their tax levy above the 2% cap, some above 5%. I feel like we have to trust our administration and their expertise, particularly our longtime business administrator, has the ability to balance, or has made some good decisions in balancing containing costs with not cutting programs and services. So I support